103.9 Big Mouth in the Morning with Tim Johnson. Hello, Ryder. Welcome to Big Mouth in the Morning. I'm Tim Johnson, and today I'm here with Emmanuel Cox, Jeremy Bentham, and John Locke. How you guys doing?
I'm well, Tim. It's great to be on the show.
All right, then. Let's get right to the phones.
Ring, 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 ring.
Hello, you're on Big Mouth in the Morning with Tim Johnson. What's your name and what's your question?
Howdy, I'm Buford Willis from around Tucson, Philadelphia. Today at school, my son Buford Jr. was sent to the principal's office because they said they reckoned something dangerous was in his locker. When the police came and cut open his locker, they didn't find nothing in there except for a dead squirrel. So, what I'm asking you is, was it moral to open my little cherry blossom's locker?
All right, then, Buford. I'm sorry to hear that. Lucky for you, we have three of history's greatest philosophers here to talk about this. Let's start with you, Emmanuel.
Sure thing, Tim. What the police in the school district did to poor little Buford was a clear violation of his basic natural rights as an intelligible, rational being. By definition, an action is immoral if it disrespects these rights, as we are all protected by a categorical imperative to treat ourselves and each other with respect. The school didn't have any proof of Buford's alleged misdoings, and therefore they could not morally invade his privacy as they did. In this scenario, Buford, a human, was used as a means for an end. That is, the police treated his right to privacy as worthless in an attempt to accomplish their own goal.
Thanks, man. Now, to help everyone else out, I brought in a sample locker policy enforced by a local school. The policy towards cutting open lockers goes as follows. Lockers are the property of the district and, as such, may be searched by the administration if there is reasonable suspicion that the locker may contain any illegal substance, weapon, or any item that may be a danger to the health, safety, and welfare of the school community. The locks will be removed at the expense of the student, and the contents of the locker will be confiscated. Now, with that in mind, what's your take on it, John?
With that, I disagree with what Kant just said. By attending his school, Buford Jr. consents to the rules and guidelines established by the teachers and administrators. Buford established a social contract with the school, where in return for his education, he must give back by following the school's rules and guidelines. Even though Buford Jr. may have inherent natural rights, by agreeing to the social contract, he is consenting to put the school's laws before those natural rights. As it says in the handbook, if there is a suspicion that the locker may contain any illegal substance or weapon, then the school has the right to open and search that locker. If the school suspected that Buford was hiding a dangerous object in his locker, then they had a moral as well as a practical obligation to search that locker. And due to the social contract of the school, Buford was obligated to let them do this.
I agree with John, but for a different reason. The ensured safety of all the school's students is worth much more than young Buford's locker freedom. What if Buford did actually have a dangerous item in his locker? And even if the staff had suspicions about the locker, and they ignored that, simply to protect his freedom, what might happen then?
Okay, those are all interesting views. We're going to call in a special guest. He's a world-famous philosopher from Athens. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Socrates.
Ring, 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 ring.
What do you think of Buford's story? I do believe there is not anyone being wronged here. The law may be absurd, but it is in the student handbook. Buford Jr. went to school. As a student, he became a citizen of the school. It is his duty to follow the law. As stated in the handbook, it is illegal to possess a weapon or any other item that may be a danger to the health, safety, and welfare of the student community. If he broke that rule, or if the school district simply has reasonable suspicion that he did, then the school has a right to take action. He has forfeited his right to benefit from the school society by disobeying its laws. Now, let's say a man's house is searched because he is suspected to be hiding bodies in a cellar. The police, if they have evidence to support that there are bodies, should be allowed to search, since the hiding of bodies is illegal. If the possession of drugs or weapons in a locker is illegal in this specific school, then the head of the school should be allowed to go inside his locker. If he does not follow the rules, he is disrespecting himself and his community. He's breaking the social contract. This contract exists between the school board and the students. He cannot break the contract. Thanks for having me on, Tim, but I must go. I have a trial to attend. Thanks, Sock. Now that I have your opinions, I'd like to bring something else to attention. If the students are residents of the school and do not own the school, are their lockers really their property? Jeremy, let's hear from you.
Thanks, Tim. I do not think the lockers are their property, and it says so in the passage here. Lockers are the property of the district, and as such, may be searched by the administration. It's better off that they are not the property of the students. If adults manage the lockers and the rules involving them, then the school will be a safer place for everyone. And if the school is safer, then everyone can get a better education and focus on that education. And that's better for everyone, isn't it?
Well, Bentham could not be more right in this situation. The lockers are built, maintained, and cleaned by the school. The school in turn receives the funding to do this from the local government, which generates its money from taxes. Therefore, the lockers are just one of the many privileges the school gives to its students. Buford Jr.'s locker was not his property. It was the property of the school district. And by using the locker assigned to him by the school, he is giving tacit consent to the school's laws, one of which, as was mentioned by our host in the extract from the school's handbook, is its right to search lockers for weapons or illegal substances.
Guys, I hear what you're saying, but you're all missing the point I brought up earlier. It simply doesn't matter whatsoever whose locker it is or who's paying for it. Buford Jr. has a right to education, and therefore the right to a locker and the privacy it provides if the school so chooses. No one can take away that right under any circumstances, even though it might be for the greater good.
Actually, Clint, you're the one missing the point. While Buford Jr. does have a right to education, he does not have the right to a locker. Let's say I bought a plot of land, built a house, and lived in it for several years. One day, my neighbor's house is destroyed in a fire, and he needs a place to live for a while, so he asks if he can stay at my place. I agree, and he moves in. However, after a month, I can't stand it. He breaks my furniture, leaves trash all over the house, and eats all my food, so I kick him out. He says that because he has the right to shelter, I can't kick him out. But if I'm the one who built and owns the house, don't I also have a right to choose who lives in it? The same principles apply to Buford Jr.'s locker. Yes, he has natural rights, such as the right to an education, which will help him reach his goals and aspirations. But a locker is by no means essential to a good education. And if the school is the one building, maintaining, and cleaning his locker, shouldn't it have the right to search his locker if it suspects that he is abusing it?
Well, while your neighbor has no right, merely a privilege to live in your house, Buford's education remains absolute, and the privilege of the locker is tied along with it.
I agree partly with both of you, but I'm sticking with my belief that the safety of those within the school is the most important issue of all of this. In most all situations, the safety of the situation's participants is most critical.
Now, I don't know if this is the case here, but at my son's school, they had to sign a physical contract that stated that each student and parent had read and consented to the student handbook. By reading the handbook and understanding it, doesn't the child permit the school possession of his locker?
But Tim, there are some things in life that we simply cannot accept and cannot consent to. Denying your own rights, including the right to privacy and education, on purpose is still an immoral act, as you are once again using a human being, yourself, as a means for an end. This completely disregards the respect and dignity owed to the human race as rational beings. Under no circumstances may these rights be overlooked, no matter who is overlooking them.
If it was not possible for Buford Jr. to consent to the school's social contract, then it would be his responsibility to voice his complaints to a school administrator. By staying silent and not voicing those concerns, the school district had no way of knowing that Buford Jr. and his parents were against the searching of his locker, and therefore had every right to search that locker.
The purpose of signing the physical document of consent was to legally bind the students to the school's rules and keep the school protected in case of a lawsuit. The binding of the students ensures that there will be a professional measure of safety within the school, and the document also states that students will agree to help keep the school safer. In the document, parents of students must also sign, so the fact that Mr. Willis is complaining about this is somewhat outrageous.
Alright, one last hypothetical before I let you go. What if Buford did have a dangerous item in his locker, and everyone, including the school district, already knew before the police opened it? Would your opinions change?
In that scenario, the school had even more of an obligation to search Buford Jr.'s locker. Going back to what Bentham mentioned before, not only does the social contract give the school the right to search the locker, but now, because it is known that there is in fact a dangerous item in the locker, the school has a practical obligation because, as Bentham mentioned, the safety of the whole school is worth more than Buford Jr.'s privacy.
John is entirely correct about this. If the school knew that Buford had a dangerous weapon within his locker, then it's the school and the police's obligation to remove that weapon at any cost, in order for the school to maintain its safety, and again, when all students are safe, the greatest amount of good can be accomplished for the greatest amount of people.
I disagree. Once again, these circumstances do not change the fact of the matter. There's no situation where the school district can morally deny the sanctuary of the locker's privacy to poor Buford.
Well, that wraps up this section of the show. Thanks to Emmanuel, John, Jeremy, and Socrates. We'll be back in 60 seconds to discuss Barack Obama's reptilian-like habits. I'm Tim Johnson, and you're listening to 103.9 Big Mouth in the Book.